Lo, I have flung to the east and west, priceless treasures torn from my breast. These haunting words from Sarojini Naidu's poem, The Gift of India, reveal the painful reality of colonialism. India, under British rule, was forced to sacrifice its people and resources for the interests of its oppressors. The priceless treasures symbolize the young Indian soldiers sent to fight in foreign wars, wars that were never their own. The line "torn from my breast" uses symbolism to compare India to a grieving mother, forced to give up her children. This metaphor evokes the deep pain of colonial subjects who had no choice but to serve their oppressors. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders in France. Here, Naidu captures the tragic fate of Indian soldiers in World War I. The simile comparing them to blossoms mown down reflects their youth and innocence, cut short by the cruelty of war. The imagery of blood-brown meadows symbolizes the horror and violence of the battlefield, scarred forever by the blood of colonial subjects. Yet despite the suffering, Naidu offers hope. When the terror and tumult of hate shall cease, and life be refashioned on anvils of peace. The metaphor of anvils of peace symbolizes the struggle required to forge freedom, a reference to India's eventual fight for independence. Through symbolism and figurative language, The Gift of India mourns the colonial exploitation of India's people while longing for a future of freedom. The devastation of colonialism is not limited to India. The painting Arrival of the Europeans portrays a similar theme, showing Portuguese traders and Jesuit missionaries arriving in Japan during the early 1600s. The maritime power of the large ships symbolizes European dominance, as they expanded their global influence through trade and colonization. The religious colonization in the painting is clear. The Jesuit and Franciscan monks represent the missionary efforts used to convert and control indigenous populations, often a tool of colonial expansion. The racial hierarchy is evident. The dark-skinned crew members, likely from colonized regions, reflect the racial stratification of colonialism. They were often laborers, treated as inferior despite being essential to colonial expeditions. Finally, the exoticism of the imagined women in Chinese robes shows the colonial fantasy of the other, the way foreign lands were romanticized and viewed as mysterious. This painting captures the complex relationships and power dynamics of early colonial encounters. The colonial grip tightened further, as seen in the short story, The Salt Inspector. The British made it illegal for Indians to sell or trade salt, turning a natural resource into a symbol of oppression. Vanshidar, an honest salt inspector, refuses to accept bribes. Yet instead of being rewarded, he is punished, a reflection of how colonialism rewarded corruption and crushed morality. His fate symbolizes how colonialism didn't just take land and money, it eroded values like honesty and justice. Both works expose the exploitation of colonialism. Just as Naidu depicts India's sons being used and discarded, The Salt Inspector shows Vanshidar being sacrificed by a corrupt system. Hugh Masekela's song Colonial Man further echoes the consequences of colonialism. With a sarcastic tone, Masekela sings, "He came, he saw, he conquered, we were happy, then he changed our ways." This line mocks the colonizers' invasion and the forced cultural assimilation of indigenous people. The symbolism of "he took our gold and our diamonds away" exposes the economic exploitation of colonial rule, how valuable resources were stripped away, leaving the colonized in poverty. The narrative shift reveals the hypocrisy of colonialism. After centuries of exploitation, colonizers sought credit for civilizing the very people they brutalized. The Gift of India, The Salt Inspector, Arrival of the Europeans, and Colonial Man all expose the painful legacy of colonialism, loss, injustice, and exploitation. Yet through their words, images, and music, they also remind us of the resilience of those who suffered and the hope for a future shaped by freedom and dignity.